Hello. Hi there. I see that.
Good morning, everybody. We'll start in a minute. Thank you. One second. Good morning, everyone. In the Film, Television, Digital Media Advisory Board, I'm City Councilor Paula Fletcher, and I'm the chair, and I'm here with my co-chair, Jason Mossick. And we will now begin meeting number 7 of our wonderful board. And It's being held with board members and staff participating both in person. Thank you. Welcome everybody in person here today. And to all of those of you online, welcome to you as well. And members of the public may also attend this meeting when the public session is on YouTube. And I would ask everybody, please, for your patience for any delays and technical issues. So just a couple of reminders as usual. Please keep your members and staff, keep your microphones muted unless you need to answer a question or speak. If you wish to speak, raise your hand, unmute your mic, or just wave, let us know that you wish to do that. Also, if you have any motions, please submit them in writing to the clerk, and that is at ftdmb@toronto.ca. And although we're meeting in different locations and meeting remotely today, our board would like to acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that our city, Toronto, is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes of the Film, Television, and Digital Media Board meeting on February the 6th, 2025? Can I get a mover for that? Cynthia? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. That's carried. We have 4 items. We'll just run through what they are. They're all ones that will be spoken to, so nothing will be held. We have our film office strategy. Very exciting, very, very exciting topic that's going to be discussed today. And we have business development initiative, of course, from our working groups. Business development initiative. We have working group updates, and we have staff updates, and there may be anything else that gets discussed here today. So that's our agenda, and can we please begin? Marguerite, you have some very special things for us today in the strategy. I'll also just let you know that after item 1, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Jason Mosick. Carry it away and take it for the morning. Thanks so much. Marguerite, over to you for item 1.
Thank you, and good morning, Councillor. I'm very pleased to have the Olsberg team here today. They've been doing roundtables in Toronto and desk research towards this strategy, and they're here to provide an update on their work so far and a sense of where it's going from here. So, Jonathan, I will hand it to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Councillor Fletcher and everybody. We're very grateful for the opportunity to talk to you, to give you an update on our progress. We're going to be showing you a slide deck, and my colleague Nika Luke and I are going to be doing it together. So this will take about up to maximum 15 minutes, and there'll be, I believe, time left over after that for your questions, which we would welcome. So without further ado, let's go on with the deck. There are 4 sections of what we're going to present to you. Quick context of the study. We're going to give you an update on how the project has been going and the progress to date. Although it's early on in the project, we're only a third of the way through, there are some interesting insights or issues and themes that are emerging that we thought we would mention to you. And then finally, we will talk about from here on how we get to the end of the road, which will be in September. So, Nika, I'll invite you to start looking at the context. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan, and hello, everyone. Pleasure to be with you today. Just, I guess, to set the context for this presentation, Olsberg FBI was invited to develop a 5-year industry strategy for the Toronto Film Office. The areas that we're looking at sort of as broad pillars align with the TFO's strategic priorities. So we're looking at the 5 areas that are on your screen: film permitting and concierge services, workforce development, marketing and promotion, grant sponsorships and incentives, and the film friendliness of the city. So these are the pillars that are where our work is falling under. I think it's important for us just to share at this point, as Jonathan said, we are only a third of the way through with our work. And so the emerging issues that we've identified so far and that we're touching on in this presentation are mainly informed by consultations with the domestic sector. We are in the process of setting up our consultations with the international sector, and altogether, this along with our desk research will inform our analysis and the refining of our recommendations. for both sides of the sector. So we thought it important just to set that context. We also think it's important to say at this stage that given that there has been a study, an action plan that was developed and executed for 2017 to 2020, we definitely see that the TFO has met or exceeded most of the stated objectives for that plan, and has certainly in that time enhanced the city's position as an internationally renowned and attractive production hub for international screen productions. So these areas just sort of cover the pillars that would have been looked at that time. So in terms of active advocacy, of course, the tax credits have been stable and continue to be a main attraction for Toronto. Of course, the protections that were put in place to ensure that production started back during the COVID-19 pandemic. Expansion in the studio space to meet the growing demand and the interest in Toronto. Several programs to expand both diversity access as well as workforce and training. Certain enhancements rather to their the TFO's customer service and what they're able to offer to both international service and domestic productions. Continuing to lead and to take a leading role in VFX and animation. And that's certainly one of the areas we're looking at here, but certainly the TFO has been a significant champion in this area. And then, of course, continuing to grow the sort of feature-facing, continuing to grow its partnerships and looking at the bringing more productions into Toronto, doing that successfully through branding and promotion and through strategic international missions. Certainly these figures would not be unsurprising to the film board. Certainly there was a steady growth leading up to the pandemic. And then there was a fall in both production spend as well as number of productions in 2020. There have been several shocks to the industry that have certainly affected Toronto, like other industries around the world. But there's certainly been a resilience, I think, that we can see that Toronto has demonstrated through its performance. And even though there's been a number of different areas that have been very positive. There's been growth in the workforce. There's been a domestic production upswing in Ontario as a whole, but certainly that would apply as well to Toronto. The slowdown in 2023, again, as everyone knows, because of the strikes and additional global uncertainty, also bled a little bit into 2024. So for 2025, the outlook looks strong, but certainly there continues to be different shocks to the industry that we are looking at as part of our work, and of course the TFO is considering as part of this. I'll hand back over to Jonathan.
Thank you, Nika. I'm going to give you a quick update on what we've been doing and then talk about the insights. So we've got different strands of research and investigation for this work that we started back at the end of February. In relation at the top to specifically Toronto issues, we've looked at all the publicly available data and reports that are available. We've been looking at how the industry papers and magazines have reported on Toronto in different ways, also the CBC March 2023 report, and we've been looking at earlier sector studies. But in addition to this work, we're constantly as a company looking around the world at what's happening in this industry. We're industry specialists, so we've got lots of clients who are interested in production ecosystems around the world. So we've been able to hoover up lots of information from those studies to inform our opinion of what's going on. It will be helpful when we're making recommendations for strategic moves in the future. We did come, my colleague, our research analyst, Peter Cobb, and I were...
Sorry, Jonathan, could you just stop for 1 second? Just got...
Yeah.
Okay. I think the board members in the room are having a hard time understanding. I'm not sure if it's your sound or
Okay.
where you are in relation to the microphone. I'm going to ask
Right.
Jason.
Let me see if I can make it better. Is this better?
Yes, that's
Can you hear
much
me?
better. Would you like him to go back to the top of that page there? Pardon me? We'll go back to progress,
Okay.
project progress to date, please.
Sure. I'll start up again. Apologies for that.
Sorry,
So,
just to make sure everybody's good and online, because I can't see anybody online now because of the presentation up. Has anybody
right.
got a message that is hard to hear online? Or I'm sure it's probably much better now.
No, we hear clearly, or I hear clearly. This is Alma.
Thank you, Angela, for helping get this sorted out.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor.
Starting again, that page.
Indeed.
Thank you.
So the research that we've been doing specifically into the Toronto environment we've looked at a number of national and provincial publications and reports that are mentioned there. We've looked at trade magazines and papers and other national newspapers and other reports on what's going on in Toronto. You'll be familiar with those reports, I'm sure. We've looked at the previous studies on the sector that were produced in 2021 and 2023. But in addition to that specific Toronto targeted research, we've got the whole team of the company that is constantly scouring the world for information about production ecosystems and what the trends are in relation not just to Toronto and Canada, but also your sort of competitors, if you would like to think of it in that way. So that's an ongoing process that will be ongoing throughout until the end of September when we'll be finishing. So we were in Toronto a few weeks ago. My colleague, Peter Cobb, who's on the call, a research analyst with the company, we visited late April, early May for a week and conducted some meetings and specifically 7 round tables, which looked at workforce development, 2 sessions with different producers, post-production VFX, marketing and communications and animation and studio owners. We only had 2 participants for the animation session, so we're going to do more work specifically there. In addition, we were able to meet with the GM at the EDC, and also Councillor Fletcher spared us some time to chat. So that was a very useful visit, an important part of our work, but the work continues. If we could go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about a few insights that have already emerged. And again, I want to stress we're only a third of the way through the study, so we've got lots more to go, and there will be others that do emerge that we're going to look into. So what are some of these emerging issues? As you're very aware, in Toronto, the service productions coming mostly from international clients continue to dominate, although Toronto producers are increasingly mixing their activities particularly from moving from the adding service work for domestic producers, but there's definitely a majority of activity in the service area, which you all know. TFO itself, in achieving its objectives, still is experiencing some challenges in terms of resourcing, and there may be limitations to how fleet of foot the TFO can be in reacting to certain issues and trends that are happening and that tend to limit or at least slow the TFO's ability to meet industry needs at speed. So that's something we're going to look into a bit deeper. You'll be well aware that in the current production ecosystems around the world, and particularly in Toronto, it's incredibly important that the tax credit is stable. Incentives, although they're not the only factor that affect a choice of where a production might locate, they are incredibly important. They certainly underpin Toronto's competitiveness. But stakeholders, not just in Toronto, but around the world, are very wary of global political shifts and the long-term effects of incentives. So we're continuing to keep a very, very close look and eye on what's going on in that market. Toronto, as a major global city, like many others, has substantial cost inflationary pressures, and productions are feeling this in terms of location fees, day rates, and general cost of living and surviving and doing business in Toronto. There is competition in this industry and always has been. Other provinces and cities in Canada are boosting their own, some of them are boosting their own, trying to boost their own competitive position, but certainly there are other cities across the border and around the world with whom, a few of them with whom Toronto really competes as a Premier League hub. Workforce retention is an important part of the strategy and always has been, and it continues to be something that needs to be looked at on a sort of consistent basis, making sure the skills pipeline is meeting the needs of the industry. But there are challenges in terms of cost of living, reduced roles for junior entrants, and also, as we'll come on to, there are evolving production methods that are affected by digital technology and innovation that might also be something that creates challenges here. In terms of looking to the future, it's far too early for us to be specific about what a new strategy should be. Although I think one thing we can say is that there's no evidence to date that fundamental changes are needed in order to stay competitive. But perhaps reflecting some of the comments we've already made, looking to the future, maintaining the global position that Toronto has as a primary hub among its competitors is going to have to continue to be a leading objective, and I'm sure will be a continuing theme of whatever strategic initiatives you decide upon moving forward, both in terms of production and obviously and post-production. In Canada as a whole and in Toronto, the domestic production sector is facing challenges which you'll all be aware of. So there's an opportunity, a continuing opportunity, I should say, for the FTO to work with its stakeholders in trying to assist diluting some of these difficulties. In particular, the demand for affordable production space for domestic producers. There may be an opportunity to look at some city-owned properties to see if there's a solution there. Finally, on this number two, there's definitely, as technology is changing so quickly and trends around the world are accelerating, there may well be a necessity for some kind of information or intelligence service to be provided by the Film Office to its constituency. For example, potentially in demystifying what's going on or in the AI frontiers. And other themes, continuing the work on the workforce and the competitive positioning of Toronto, ensuring that we continue to understand what the workforce needs are of the industry in terms of developing different levels of talent above and below the line to maintain that competitive advantage that we're going to be talking about quite a lot. So it's important to understand what are the competitive pressures from a workforce perspective that other filming jurisdictions are experiencing, and the case studies that we're going to be doing for you will be helpful in that regard, and also the research. And finally, a theme that emerged a lot in our discussions to date has been a desire and need for international collaborations, more opportunities for working with co-production partners, not just in the established and traditional regions, but also the emerging international markets. I mean, Toronto is such a multicultural city with connections all around the world. It could be fruitful to look into where these relationships can be turned into real production opportunities. So, and the strategic enhancement, international collaboration to complement what's happening on a provincial and a federal level is something that we're sure is worth looking into. Nika, I think I'm going to hand over to you to finish.
Thank you, Jonathan. So just in terms of our next steps for the remainder of this work, we have a couple of other roundtables to schedule, specifically looking at sustainability and emerging technology. With the potential of another animation roundtable, we have our virtual consultations with the international studios and streamers, and as well as some key TFO-funded film festivals to get their perspectives. That's happening in the next few weeks. We'll continue our desk research. We're also including in this study up to 14 short case studies of comparable cities and their screen industries, the goal of which is to find sort of additional lessons for Toronto, both in terms of their successes and their gaps, to possibly inform the strategy for Toronto. We're also preparing to issue an industry survey with the intention of gaining some quantitative insights that will support and complement the primary work we've done already with the roundtables and the virtual consultations that I mentioned. And then, of course, as Jonathan mentioned, we're going to continue to monitor these global shocks and trends that are potentially impacting the industry in Toronto, as there may be a role or there may be some impact on the strategy that we eventually design. SPI's bespoke ripple analysis is something that we're looking at incorporating into this report as a way to continue to underline the economic value of the incentive. So that's something that we're looking at including in terms of examples. We'll continue our regular interactions as scheduled with the Film Board and the Film Strategy Working Group in terms of discussing the key findings as they emerge, as well as preparing the presentations. And then, of course, the process of preparing the draft reports, that will be a process that we will conduct with the TFO, the Film Board, and the Strategy Group. And then we'll make our final presentation. I believe we're scheduled to do so at the Film Board meeting in September. And so that's what's left of the work for SPI. We're happy to take any questions from the floor.
Thank you very much. There we go. We're off screen with the presentation. There are the 4 areas that you've well put this in: study context, project update, insights, and next steps. And just want to say how lucky we are to have you on this file during these really challenging times. Who knew how important that would be to have you here and SPI on the job while we're dealing with a number of major issues in this industry. So I'm just wondering if there's some questions or comments actually around any of these areas. If the next steps, any comments on that? Feel that that's all in hand, thought of everything? What did you say, Cynthia? I'm looking at you. Why am I looking? I don't know. Nice pink top, that's why.
I have a comment and a question, just a process question, I guess. So, sorry, I feel really far away from my mic and I'm conscious of sound today. Just in a comment, Jonathan, you mentioned when you were talking about international collaboration to complement federal level efforts. In your speaking, you did also note the province in that, and I think it's important that the documents reflect the provincial level efforts on that as well. So that's just my comment. Just a process question. I don't know if it's a Jonathan question or a Marguerite question, but if I'm reading the timeline correctly, you will be working with the strategy working group over the summer, but the first time the whole film board will see the report is the final report?
It will be the final report if the film board decides it's the final report. So there's that.
So if the film board disagrees with the working group for whatever reason, there's opportunity for it to not to be final.
Even though the working group is very large and contains a big contingent from the film board, and I would find that extremely surprising, yes, that possibility exists. And that's why we took the approach we did with the film strategy group, because we knew that there's a large gap over the summer when the film board doesn't meet, and so this is how we're trying to address that. But yes, if the film board does disagree with the final strategy and want some amendments, then we'll be in a position to provide that.
That's it, Cynthia. That's your question. How about anybody else? Comments? Thumbs up? Great work. Yes, very exciting. Oh, Jason?
Jonathan, sorry, just one comment.
Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
I just had one comment. With respect to the emerging themes slide, sorry, I don't know which page it is here, I apologize. Under the second item, it talks about challenges for the domestic sector, and it talks about the third bullet is demystifying AI. I would say that challenge and that concern is obviously not limited to the domestic side of the industry. I think it's obviously the industry as a whole, service animation, be it domestic or service animation, live action production, whatever the case may be, scripted production, production in general, I think is just demystifying AI. So I just maybe make that clarification there.
Yes, thank you, and I absolutely agree. And indeed, you know, in our work, we're trying as much as possible not to have different strands of our work looking one side at the service international production, the other domestic, to exclude the reality of life, that both segments of the sector have a symbiotic relationship. So I think the effect and what's happening in AI is a great example of that. Thank you for raising it.
Yeah, and I apologize to state the obvious, you post in VFX as well.
Of course.
Sir.
So I think Jason's just making sure, and I think you confirmed that, Jonathan, that the AI conversation will be across all aspects of the industry, right? Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, good. Anybody else? I can't see you online. Anyone before we wrap up? I guess I'm just going to suggest that this is a great start. Does everybody feel comfortable with what you've seen today and the direction? Is there anything more that you think needs to be fleshed out? Or we're comfortable with the process and the direction and the work that has been undertaken, and thankful for that. Comment, I see Sarah, you're nodding your head. I'm looking at you. Thumbs up, okay. Great. I say speak now or forever hold your peace until September if you're not in the working group. Great, that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Jonathan and team, for being here this morning. And you must have hit all the right notes, because there's not any controversy here on the directions that you're laying out for us. And I think everybody is very thankful that we're having such a comprehensive look at ensuring the health of the industry here in Toronto. I'm very lucky to have Olsberg SPI on this file. I think everybody would endorse that it's very exciting, it's great, and thank you for our team, led by Marguerite and the film office, for making this all happen. So it's all coming together in such an incredibly good way that we're going to do our best to maintain a fantastic industry and such an important part of Toronto's economy. So with that, I will just ask for a motion to endorse and receive this report to date. Can I have that from you, Cynthia, please? All right, moved by Cynthia. All in favor? Hands up, everybody. Opposed? Don't see anybody opposed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jonathan and team, for being here this morning. Very nice to meet you all, even virtually, and I'm sure in September you'll be here in the flesh. Is that right? Yes, very good.
Yes,
I'll get
yes.
to see you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you and goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
There they're gone. And now I'm going to turn this over to great co-chair Jason Mossick to conduct the rest of the board. And you're going to move over here. Are you? Maybe not. Wherever you want to go. Thanks, everybody. Got to go. I've got an emergency meeting this morning, but great to see you all, and looking forward to this journey that we're starting on with the strategic plan. Thanks. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for that. With that, I think we can move on to the second item on our agenda, 7.2, with a presentation on a business development initiative. And with that, I'll turn over to Marguerite.
It is not a presentation, it is me talking, but thank you. So this is a direct segue from one of the final slides in the Olsberg presentation that urged us as a film office to seek more international opportunities and to broaden our partnership base. So we are actually already very active on this element. Understanding the priority for us to diversify our industry. So we are planning a mission to London and to Dublin for July. So this mission, in making this decision, we looked at the co-production treaties that are most heavily used. Of course, after France, that's the UK and Ireland. We know that, that industry is comparatively healthy due to the substantial public support that they get. So we plan to reach out to promote Toronto for partnership and as a destination, so for production. So in London, our focus will be on in discussing co-production, official treaty co-production with the people that we meet with. And depending on the nature of the company we're meeting with, we may also discuss service production. In Dublin, we will be discussing solely co-production, and receptions will be held in both cities. We're planning to take 3 teams. 2 are focusing on production, post-production, and VFX, and 1 on animation. Because this is the first time we've done something like this, it is very exploratory. It's a bit of a we'll see what happens. So we're taking a very, very small group of people with us, industry to industry, really focused on those sectors and those experts who we think our partners will most want to hear from to answer their specific questions about working in Toronto. So we're not going to announce the full list of participants right now because it is still a little bit in flux, but all of the unions and guilds represented on the film board are participating, as well as private companies in the most relevant sectors to our partners. And so we want to thank our partners in advance. We also are going to be inclusive of the whole industry in our messaging and in our materials. So we are reaching out to companies that have participated in our missions to LA previously to ask them to send whatever materials they want to share. We want to ensure that the messaging is very inclusively handled. So it's in early July, and we will report back to the board on that initiative when it's done.
Thank you, Marguerite. Does anybody have any questions? I know I personally think it's a very important initiative and commend the city on thinking forward and thinking of these other ways to establish relationships outside of our usual places that we like to inhabit and meet new partners and hopefully bring work back to the city with us. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts or questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to receive the report? Bijou? All in favor? Sorry, I didn't look online. That's carried. Thank you. And with that, we can move on to item 7.3 and updates from our various working groups. First, I'll turn it over to Angela Mastronardi to give us a quick update on the Workforce Development Working Group.
Does it have to be quick?
Take your time.
I'm teasing. Okay, so a quick recap of our 2024 meeting, which signaled a downturn in production from all unions and guilds in both workdays and wages. The focus shifted from workforce development to workforce retention, and the focus would be on upskilling and reskilling, including leadership skills for people that are already in the industry, as well as updating training, prioritizing particular technologies. One of the main focuses was to continue looking at micro-credentials and the recommendation to continue with the XOTO schools. as well as supporting small cohorts like Women in Post and the Cinecares Production Accounting Program. There was a screen industry workforce study done in 2021, which highlighted some of the gaps within the industry, and the hope is to conduct a new workforce labor gap study in 2025 that would be able to track those changes. Jessica Manoff from the city provided an update on the 2024 workforce development program supported by the Film Office, which includes some of the following: the E-Trades program with C, which is a basic intro program to the film industry, the Remix Projects video program, Film 101 through the Shine Network Institute, which engaged the Indigenous community. The Tall Pines Trans Film Mentorship Program was a small cohort of 7 individuals and was extremely effective. Women in Post through the Academy Program, the Black Screen Office Mid-Career Accelerator Program, WIFT with the Intermediate Production Accounting and Tax Credits Program, as well as business budgeting, and POV with the PA Program and the 3D Real-Time Creative Tech Program. In 2025, the Film Office will continue to support CPOV, the Women in Post program, and they have also newly engaged the Disability Screen Office in developing some materials to train a disability officer. So most sectors are participating in Pinewoods Futures Film Festival, which happened on May 1st. Every production at CineSpace in 2024 and in 2025 so far has participated in the Cinecares program, partnered with both IATSE and NABET, recruiting through the POVC and the ISO. Cinecares will hold another production accounting micro-credentials at Schulich now, which is now integrated in their full curriculum in the fall. And they continue having New York University on site holding classes and industry talks. POV has launched their flagship media training program, providing economic pathways to young people facing some level of economic marginalization. They have had to pause the PA program this year, but are hopeful for 2026. They are running phase 2 of the real-time 3D training program. They're releasing, through a partnership with the Trillium Foundation, the Indigenous Creative Pathways Project Report, which is a partnership between POV, Shine, and Mizwe Beek, giving insight into the current state for Indigenous creatives in film, advertising, and virtual production. They are launching the advertising training program with the Publicist Group, with the idea of taking creatives that are in adjacent sectors like film to upskill and come into new industries that can sustain career development in the interim. Durham Career Fair was held for its 3rd consecutive year, with most of us participating. Launching in May is the revised EDC grant process. The website will have a clear articulation of actions, goals, accessibility of funds, eligibility, and policy requirements. The 2 programs being instituted are 1, the creative industry sector development, and 2, creative industries workforce development, which is basically anything that would support the development of workforce in creative industries. There will be 5 online application deadlines throughout the year. XOTO schools, stats from 2024, 3 co-op semesters were placed in 2024, over 30 students placed, including in animation. Limited onset placements, unfortunately there were limited onset placements. The focus will be on expanding and finding new partners, as well as nurturing repeat relationships. The Infrastructure and Sustainability Working Group has offered assistance to the Film Office to renegotiate the TDSB part of the program that accesses schools. Skills Development Fund recommendation is to apply for 2025 and to appeal to the Ontario government to earmark a part of the fund specifically for entertainment. The Ministry of Labour has restructured the wage subsidy portion of the Skills Development Fund, and only 50% of wages based on Ontario minimum wage can be reimbursed. With recent changes in the reduction of international students and therefore the reduction of staff, universities and colleges have had to readjust, and discussions, the creation of micro-credentials and smaller programs to address the loss and or pause of some full degree programs and certificate programs is underway. Possibility of city-led roundtables to see how post-secondary institutions deal with curriculum within the industry. The working group recommendation was to push this to the fall. CERT and partners to develop a series of AI talks on ethical use of AI in filmmaking. It's about ensuring our workforce is respected and skills are not wasted, but it's also about ensuring that Toronto's not left behind. Ontario Creates has funded a study through Work and Culture to see how AI could be used to help with admin work, and the results should hopefully be available in the fall as well. While recognizing the successful tactics in workforce development by the Film Office, the working group expressed that more high-level, long-term planning for workforce development is needed from the city moving forward. Submitted respectfully.
Thank you, Angela. Lengthy update. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Angela or the Workforce Development Working Group? Cynthia?
Comment. I wanted to congratulate the team at Pinewood and Sarah and Ashley in particular for a great Futures Festival. For the first time out, it was really well done, and everyone I talked to had a great time. So congrats.
I'll just say thank you very much to everybody here who participated. We were extremely overwhelmed with how everyone was with their time and efforts, and the feedback has been extraordinary. So thank you very much.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I get a motion to accept Angela's report? Gail? All in favor? Carried. Carried. I see Magali is not here today, so I don't know if there is an infrastructure and sustainability working group update in her stead. Maybe we could defer that to the next meeting if everyone's in agreement with that. I don't know if I need do I need a motion to do that? No? All right. So let's move that to our next meeting, which is June? September, I apologize. I think I would know. And with that, then we can move on to 7.4 and staff updates. With that, I'll turn it over to Marguerite for an update from the Film Office.
Thank you, Jason. I'll turn it to Bobby.
Good morning, everyone. For the Film Office, we currently are dealing with, are working with approximately 30 Tier 1 productions, which for context, this time of year, that's quite high. And for the permitting, we are seeing quite high numbers, higher than the past 4 years. And for context on that, our busy seasons are usually the summer months between June and even September. And we've been seeing those type of numbers in March. So I know the weather was really nice on the weekend, but we've been experiencing summer since March in the Film Office. So it's showing good health to the location industry. Looking forward to this summer.
Jessica.
Hi, everyone. Just echoing a little bit of what Angela updated on for workforce development programs. The workforce development programs will fall under the new grant and sponsorship process. So before that process has been implemented so far in 2025, we're working with POV on the second phase of the 3D real-time program, which is going very well. Just a reminder that the people in that second phase are some of the participants from the first phase, and they're able to continue to develop their skills, so that's very exciting. Working with C on the E-Trades program, and also XOTO Schools is going really well, very strong program. There were over 20 students expressing interest for the summer semester, so I think we had 17 in the winter semester. and a lot for summer as well. We are experiencing a bit of a challenge on the career talks that is due to the TDSB changing some of their policies about gathering. I think a lot of people are aware of this, so we're working closely with them on making sure we can continue that element of the program. Just wanted to mention again, Futures Festival. We were thrilled to participate in that. At Pinewood, Marguerite and I were both able to moderate a couple of panels, and also we had Anya from Exotio Schools at the desk all day greeting students, so that was a really successful day for everyone. Again, congratulations. And then very excitingly, we have a new staff member in the film office. So we've been without a sector development officer for several months, and many of you have now met Sasha James, who's sitting behind me here, and has been in for about, I think, 6 weeks as our sector development officer. So that's gonna really help with a lot of the efforts that we're working on right now. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Jessica. Adding on to the update on the creative industries grants, I am very happy to report that they are council approved. The portal is pretty much ready to go. So we will be rolling those out very soon. So you can keep an eye on those. Also, moving on to another topic, I think we have all been keeping an eye on the announcement out of the US of the president's expressed intent to apply tariffs to this industry. While I think generally there is not a sense that a tariff mechanism would actually be applied, it has nonetheless created a degree of uncertainty that is concerning and that can have a cooling impact potentially on production in Toronto. So we're very mindful of this and thinking about how the city can best protect our vibrant industry and protect its future. There are 4 key approaches that are advisable right now, although certainly approaches to this situation will change as the situation itself changes. From an advocacy perspective, we would recommend focusing on 4 things. First, an enhancement to the Ontario Production Services Tax Credit, the Ontario Computer Animation and Special Effects Tax Credit, and the Ontario Film and Television Tax Credit, including mechanisms for faster payment. Secondly, greater direct investment in domestic production through existing federal and provincial funds. Thirdly, access for the production industry to current or future provincial or federal funds supporting sectors harmed by tariffs, even if a tariff mechanism is not specifically applied. And lastly, a review of EI requirements to ensure gig workers in these industries, sometimes ineligible for this benefit, are able to access it in order for the industry to retain workers. And with that, I will turn it to Jason. For the motion.
Yes. So we have a motion to that effect, which effectively is what Marguerite just read. The motion is that the Toronto Film, Television, Digital Media Board endorse the following measures to protect the future of production in Toronto. And it's the 4 items that Marguerite just read. And requests that the chair, so Councillor Fletcher of the Film, Television, Digital Media Board, advise City Council of these emergency measures.
I have a question, if that's okay at this point in the process.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to ensure that, and I'm sorry it's off the screen now, but the part where it said production industry having access to relief, whether or not tariff mechanisms come into place, I just want to ensure that that would support like ancillary companies to the production industry, if that makes sense. And I'm not even necessarily saying like Pinewood would want to access it, but I would want to make sure that sort of studio providers, et cetera, are considered to be encompassed in that.
Thank you for that point. The elements of our industry that are potentially most affected are those elements that are most geared to international production, and so they would be a key consideration. The way that it is worded right now is without much limitation, because it will be to the drafters of the programs and our response to that, where the particulars would come. But for your awareness, it's those pieces of our industrial infrastructure that are a primary focus. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question as well?
Please.
Is it possible to say production and post-production?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Just 1 second, Jane, while we amend that, everyone.
Is there a dash? I don't even know.
Yeah, can you? So there specifically, you'll see the amendment in C, access for production and post-production industries to current and future.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
So my question is just, you're asking us to endorse greater direct investment in domestic production through existing federal and provincial funds. We don't technically have any ability to do that. So are you like asking City Council to write someone in particular about this, or what's the, I guess I would just want to understand what we're requesting.
Assistance and advocacy and working with partners at other levels of government to express the importance of the industry here in Toronto and the importance of these additional measures to help support the industry in any mechanism or any avenue available would be appreciated and needed.
Okay, I guess I just wondered if you want to make it more explicit, but if everybody's comfortable with that, I'm fine with it.
Sorry, go ahead. Did you want to add something? Go ahead.
Councillor, with the motion as it stands, the potential exists for a councillor to take this forward to City Council as a member's motion at the session of council this week. And the wording of that motion can be more forceful based on the Film Board's endorsement of this motion.
Okay, understood.
Is there any other questions with respect to the motion? Seeing none, I guess this is my motion, so all in favor? So moved. Thank you, everyone. think the last piece of business we have is a motion to excuse the absences of various board members who are not here today, specifically board members Paula Devonshire and Magali Simard. So there you'll see the motion on the screen. Can I get a motion for that motion? Or motioner, sorry. Angela? All in favor? Anyone opposed? So moved. I think that concludes our business today, and thank you everybody for participating. Our next meeting is September 15th. Enjoy your summer. Take care, everyone.
Good summer.
Thanks, everyone.